Hi, you guys. I'm here with Shealynn Simone. She is a manifester and she's also a ballerina chick who's had a near-death experience. I don't know. How are you going to describe yourself? And I'm just
I think that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, if you roll it all together, those are the important parts of my life. I manifest things and I do ballet. It's great.
okay. So tell us about okay, so you had a near-death experience when you were 14?
15 years old.
15. Okay,
15.
so
Yeah.
walk us through this. This is kind of cool.
Cool. Yeah, so I was driving home on a snowy day. I just got my license at New Mexico. You get it around 15,
Yeah.
15 and a half. And it was one of my first times like driving in the snow, and I was comfortable with it until I reached a hill and I started sliding backwards. And I started spinning, and a big truck came over the hill and just smashed right into me. And I don't know if you guys remember what Geo Metros are, those little itty bitty cars. I had a
Oh, yeah,
Japanese
yeah.
equivalent of one of those, and it was called a Daihatsu. And the truck was this big 4x4 honking work truck, and it just smashed into me. So I got thrown to the back, was internally bleeding. It was it was pretty bad, and we live about 45 minutes away from town. So it took the ambulances almost 2 hours to get me to a hospital. So after internally bleeding for a long time, I flatlined, and they brought me back. And during the time, I crossed over.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
did you lose consciousness or how like or like how did when you crossed over what
I
happened? Like that's
did.
the ultimate question.
So I think, and I've been told that the soul kind of gets scared out of the body. Like you don't really remember physically things, because like the second something like that happens, it kind of jolts us out. And I totally resonate with that, because for me, I don't remember anything during the accident. Like after I saw the car coming, like that, the truck coming, that was it. And then about 2 months later is whenever I regained my actual like human thoughts. um and for me, it was an interesting experience. I remember there are just bits and pieces of it, but a lot of it was just that sensation of not having a body and having like telepathic communications. But it was more, there's no language. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like emotions and feelings, and like you just know things.
Hmm.
And there was people there. There was another person there. There's actually a lot of people there, and they were helping me decide what I needed to do, my soul self, what my next path was going to be. And there was the discussion of, you have work to do over here on this side if you want to do it, or you can go back. And I distinctly remember saying, I want to stay here. I think I've lived my life really well. I went through my life. I remember going through all of it, like the parents I chose and the life I lived and how I lived. And it was good. Like in my mind, or in the thought feeling I was at, was like, yeah, I think I did everything I wanted to do this life. I think I'm going to stay here. And next thing I know, 3 months later, I'm back in my body going, what the heck? I thought I was going to stay. So very interesting for me. That was my experience.
So did your parents were you in a coma? Like did or were you at all conscious at all that and you just don't remember?
I was not in a coma. They did, okay, I guess I was. They did a morphine induced. They kept me still and not able to do anything. I was on machines. I had brain activity though, and I was still technically alive after they brought me back. But they kept me in that because for 3.5 days I was left open. They slipped me down the stomach and was trying to fix the iliac vein in my back that was cut,
Ooh.
and they didn't have a vascular surgeon on hand. So for 3 days, I was left like literally butterflied open while they tried to find a vascular surgeon to fix it for me.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
intense. So,
Yeah.
and like, okay, so I actually had a I became like a spontaneous atheist because when I was in 27, I got like I only had like two wisdom teeth and I got them removed when I was 27. And when they put the anesthesia in, it like went up and it was like count back from 100 and I was like 99, 98, and boom, and it was blackout. And then the next thing I wake up and it's like, oh, you're all done, you can go or whatever. And that was the first time that I personally had ever experienced blackout consciousness. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
for me, I guess, and since I've talked to a lot of my friends about this, and they are like, "Well, what about when you sleep?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like I never lose consciousness when I sleep. I always have, even if like I don't remember my dreams, I still have a passage of time. Like I believe in time kind of passage and stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it took me like I was in my atheist phase for probably like maybe 3 years, and it yeah, and that was probably until 2012, and then like I started having like some other stuff started happening to me that brought me back out. But then when I had my kind of near death experience, it wasn't, I wouldn't call it a near death experience. I would call it was like a near death experience. So, but it was I accidentally, because I didn't understand, because it was the first time I'd ever taken a psychedelic or mushroom. I took 12 grams of mushrooms in one go, which is a really lot. Like a healthy dose that'll make you hallucinate is 3 grams. And I just ate my whole bag because I didn't realize it was for the whole weekend. And um, anyway, so I had a I like left out of body experience. I left my body, and then like I completely had 100% belief back into that. Okay, like we are more than these bodies, and we go on, and there's something else way different than what's actually here.
Yeah.
And so in a way it completely eliminated my fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, not even
I
in a
can
way,
totally
but
relate to that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
did do that. And I feel like a big, I don't know if it's a problem, but it's a thing in our society, is that people have uh like I think a big product of what you're seeing right now with everything is there's just a real giant fear of death. I think, and if you really think there's, you do turn off like a wisdom tooth anesthesia, like black light, like I can sympathize with that. But if you really think you kind of go on more to, you know, other things, like you are more than your body, then it's not as big of a fear. So
Yeah.
do you think that that's there any truth to that?
I do, because just being able to experience it myself, like there was that moment of like, oh, I'm still existing. Like I was still existing without a body. Like it was my experience that we absolutely do that. And even after that, so I somebody explained it to me that you can turn the wheel, you flip the script a little bit, and it happens a lot with people in car accidents. Is like there's a connection between the other part of you. So we all have a soul. We all have another like connection to like the other side. And sometimes it can flip around where you have that more at present in your in this life is that other side kind of opening. And
Mm-hmm.
I did that. And after my car accident, my soul wasn't staying in my body. And I didn't know that was what was happening, because when I would sleep or when I would meditate, um, I would just like, wee, I'd go, and I would like have to come back into this body, and it would be like this whole process. I would have to like a lot of times when I'd wake up, it would take me 1 to 2 hours to re-inhabit this body, and like I'd be clumsy and I'd like knock things over, and people are like, boy, you just didn't get enough sleep. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to freaking learn how to use a body again. And it would happen. And it happened up until this year, and I got in another car accident and it flipped back, and I like embodied my body again, which is really interesting.
Oh wow, you got in another car
I
accident.
did. Yeah. That time, and I did lose consciousness during that one. That one was really weird. I wasn't injured. I wasn't hurt. The weird, I had 2 bruises on my arm that looked like finger that grabbed me, and 2 on my thigh. And that was it. And when I got hit, I lost consciousness. Like I woke up to somebody smacking on my window, asking me if I was okay, and being so confused as to why they're outside of my window in the middle of the street. Like, what are you doing? I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about the person outside. And I had gone back up and came back down, and like I like dove right back into my body. And I had no memories before my car accident. Like after I came back from my car accident, all my childhood memories were all gone, and I couldn't remember anything.
Do you think you're
And then this
walking?
year, That's what people have asked me. So, but this year they're coming back because I think the car accident made me come back to it. I think I came, my full self is back now, because I think my other soul was just like kind of like testing the waters a little bit. Like my soul was kind of like, oh, this is me. And then like I'd leave and I'd be a soul for a while. And then I'd come back and be like, oh, human, whatever, be human, do the things. So I don't know how to explain it, but I do think that there's two different sides of us. And I had one of them that was supposed to be up there, came in here, and my other self went, and then I switched it back. I don't have the language for it. That's just how I feel I am.
Well, I mean, I definitely resonate with the when I left my body and I was in the, like, okay, so I've said this before, but like I don't call it God because it wasn't a personification. It wasn't like a person. And I don't call it heaven because it wasn't necessarily a place. Like, I think some of the terms that we have for this stuff it's limiting. And it is ineffable. It is not, you can not actually describe it. But, and there were senses that were being occupied that we don't have. Like, meaning, like, there were colors that we can't see. There was like, but there
Right.
was something else that was sensing that is more than our five senses sense. Or like, that's
Yeah.
how I would describe it, even though I know that sounds kind of ridiculous. But when I was there, I also didn't want to come back. I was like, ah, no, that's all fake. And I had this weird, and I felt like I was there thousands of years, thousands.
Yeah.
Like, I actually can tell you way more about that than I can about anything that's happened in my 39 years that I've been alive right now. Just because I felt as though I lived like so long. I have a memory of being a rock on a planet. Like, I have a memory of, I have other life memories that I got, what say, like, well, I had some of them before I had that, but then I also got another things back. And I don't know, they feel like memories. Maybe they're just made up stories in my head and I have a great imagination, but they feel like memories. And there was this weird golden, like, hula hoop kind of looking. It was like a lightning hula hoop that was gold, that had and all these little sparks seemed to share my soul signature. Or it's almost like, okay, I did get a weird gift when I came back, and it's the dumbest superhuman power ever, but I have the ability to, and I still have it even like now. I can hear my own electricity that my sound of my body makes, and I can hear other people's body. I can hear like what their what their electricity sounds like, what their vibration sounds like. And people are like, oh, am I good? Am I bad? I'm like, it's not like that. It's like everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice that's unique, and everybody's signature to their, it's you're neither good nor bad. I can, like, the only thing I could tell you is like, oh, there's no sound coming from this area or this area of you. Like, all your sound is, or your sound is louder here and softer here, but you have a sound that is you, and it's not good or bad. It's just your identity, like your voice. And yeah, like, I can't, when I'm in a crowd, I can turn it off. I don't have to hear anything, like when I'm in a plane or something, I don't hear it. But if I'm with a person one-on-one in a room, it sounds like kind of like the refrigerator humming, like it has like an electric sound. Anyway, this hula hoop of beings, I don't even know if they were people or not. They were just like other, like, light bodies or whatever, because I also didn't have a body. They were, I feel like they were me in past lives or future lives or some kind of arcing thing, or we were in the same soul family, or we have the same frequency, or there's something about, like, but it was a large group that I belonged to in this hula hoop of a circle. And I don't know if it was all aspects of myself, or if we're all multidimensional other places at the same time or whatever. Anyway, my hula hoop would not let me stay in the ether. I was like fighting back and forth. I fought with him for a long time because I was like, nope, that's all fake. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go back. I'm good. I'm good here. I also like that. You guys can have that. I'm done with that. I'm staying up here. And they would just laugh at me and be like, well, and the funniest thing, they finally got me, I don't know after how long, by saying like, well, is your mother fake? And I was like, well, of course my mother's not fake. And then it was like, okay, well, and yeah, but it was like, it's almost like they were trying to coax like a little kid to come out of a closet with a
Oh
cookie
yeah.
or something. It was just, it was very hard to get me to come back into my body.
Yeah.
So I really understand that.
I I was angry for a very long time. Like I was like, that was my atheist phase. I was like, okay, I know what I experienced. I know what I said. I didn't want to come back here. Therefore, there is no God. Like that was my whole like, that's it. I'm done. Like whatever. I will just live this out until I go back to that place again. Like that was like my like, it was a good like 2 to 3 years of that. Like just whatever. I'll just simply exist. So I totally get it. Cause yeah, it's interesting. Like to come back here and be like, oh, it's so heavy. It's so much. It's
That's
so different.
the heavy thing is the interesting thing because, like, the one thing I could say with all certainty, and you guys could all think I'm full of crap, I don't care. This place is heavy. Like, the
Hmm.
actual physicality of it is like very, it's like, e- even when my memories of being a rock, um, this is denser, this is heavier, this
Yeah.
is this is just so solid. And it's not like that always other places. So that's the most unique thing I can think of about um Earth or being
Yeah.
incarnated as a human, is that it's a very, very slow heaviness. I could feel
Yeah.
that.
And I feel like time, as strange as it sounds, I feel like it passes very slowly here. Like I know people think it goes so fast, but I feel like you felt like you were over there for thousands of years. I feel like I was on the other side for a long time, or whenever I would sleep, but then I'd come back. I felt like I had been gone for centuries, and I'd come back and be like, trying to reuse my hand and being like, okay, we got to do this. Like, we can do this again. But it didn't feel like I just slept 8 hours. It feels like I was gone for a long time.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So, do you like I got a sense of what I think existence is about. What do you did you get anything like that? Like what did you, because I'll tell you what I think is going on, but what do you think is going on?
Yeah. I think it's a big playground. I think here is like it really is like I think as souls on the other side before we come back in, we're like super excited because we want to feel all the things physically that we can't feel on the other side. You don't feel you feel like this constant like it's good. It's a good feeling. There's like, but it's like being in tepid water or in like that perfect day where we all sit and be like, oh, this is perfect. But you feel like that all the time on the other side. There's waves of like interactions and there's waves of thoughts and there's waves of other things, but there's not anger, there's not fear, there's not sadness in that pure soul part that I was in. There is none of that. So as souls that want to come back into this life, I feel like, oh yeah, I want to feel like what it's like to be sick, and I want to feel what it's like to be sad, and then I can feel good again, and I'll remember how to feel good. And we don't, we forget a lot of that.
Right.
But like we're supposed to come in and like experience all that because it's going to bring us to the vibration we need to be. But I think we're just excited to come into it a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, my impression of being back with, like, I felt like I was back with like this electricity energy fractal source thing, right? And that's what I called the source. And I was it, and it was me, and it was everything, and it was bigger than me, but it was also all me as well. It was very interesting because I understood the oneness of everything in that
Hmm.
moment, like, and I hadn't ever really looked into that kind of stuff. So this was just like I actually experienced it. It's not something I read. And it I felt the impression that I felt infinity for real. Like I knew that time was an illusion, that it's always been, it always will be, and it's all right now too. It's so hard to explain, and I know people think that that's just mumbo jumbo, but the thing is like I feel like even existence itself, it doesn't even know why it exists. It just always has existed, and it fragmented itself into infinite amounts of possibility to learn more about its own self. And it's kind of a way, like,
Hmm.
that's like an impression I got. I don't know if it's true. And then the thing is like when I um I also have had a realization of that, like, through these kind of mystical experiences or whatever, is that this is a gift. It is such a gift to be in a human body and able to just sit here and focus on these words. Like when you are in like the spirit form or the soul form or the whatever, it's like you said, like there's 1,000 years can go by in like 4 hours or something. So um your point of focus, the fact that you can like look at a pin and just look at a pin is an actual really beautiful gift, and I think we don't really appreciate that being incarnated as humans right now. Or I
Mhm.
mean, like some of us do, but on a day-to-day basis, like it's this won't last forever. So while you're here, have some tactile actual fun and enjoy just the small stuff because
Yeah.
it's it's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. A lot of my friends joke with me because they're like, you're so materialistic for being so spiritual. And I'm like, yeah, because this doesn't exist on the other side. Like, I want the pretty things. I want to wear the pretty jewelry because it excites my soul. It's like, oh, I like pretty. I don't know if you can tell my chandeliers and like I like pretty things in my life, but that's what they're there for. That's what I came into this world to experience, is all that stuff. But I think people have such the misconception that if you're spiritual, you have to let go of all the material things. And that's fine if that's your path. That's fine if that's how you came in to experience this life for you, that you want to experience minimalist and things like that. But for some people, they come into this life to experience literally, like you're saying, the material, the tactile, the thing, the actual manifestation of things like phones and computers and things like that, I think are amazing because somebody came up with these things, manifested these things, made these things into reality, into our lives right now. And that happened in this dimension, in this world that we're living in.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there are iPads in other planets and other places, but I know when I was a soul on the other side, I didn't see an iPad.
Yeah. Yeah. True. It's pretty phenomenal how we have compounding influence, our compounding intelligence that like build upon the shoulders of giants to get us all the stuff. It's like so we're
Yeah.
all yeah, we're built it's a little Lego building world that we're in this layer of the video game is, you know, pretty cool. But not that other ones aren't or whatever. But okay, so let's segue off of that in terms of, so you're a manifester. Like explain how you got into this and what that means to you and stuff.
So I, there's always been, I was brought up a little bit different than most people. My mom always taught us the power of our minds and how you think, law of attraction, but I don't think she knew it was law of attraction when she was bringing it up. Like there's no clear, like, this is why I'm teaching you this. It was just like she was big into like, watch your thoughts because they create what you have in your life. And nowadays we know that is law of attraction, right? So I got to the point, it was actually right before COVID, that I was working so much all the time trying to get all the things done because I just want to put in my willpower and make it happen. And I learned you can put in your willpower, I can put in my things and make it happen. But then I started kind of waking up a little bit and being like, you know what? There has to be an easier way. These are the things I want. I want a new way of getting them. And things started happening in my life that compounded over and over again onto, like, it would start small. Like I wanted a new phone and I won one. I wanted a new car and I got in a car accident and then I got a new car. Maybe that wasn't the best way to do it, but it happened. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
just the way that it did, right? So like little things kept happening and I kept paying attention to them, like, hey, these things are happening and I'm doing maybe like 10% like actual effort, more thinking, more getting my vibration to where it needs to be, getting my intentions clear, getting what I want and knowing that somehow it's going to happen and being faithful in that, right? Like having this like trust that the universe has got me kind of thing. And then COVID hit. And my biggest thing that I wanted was to not work. I wanted to not work for a while. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So I got 2 years of not working. And then thing on top of thing, like I was not only not working, but I was making more money than I ever had in my whole entire life. And it was just like one thing after another that was happening. And I was like, hey, I need to like zero in on exactly how I'm doing this and figure it out a little bit more. And it's tweaking it like little by little, but really controlling your thoughts. And that's what I learned that I can manifest things. I can be a manifester. I can figure this out on a different level and keep doing my work inside of me instead of trying to force the world to give me what I want.
That's okay. That's really really. So you almost like didn't even now. Were you aware of like Okay, so you introduced me to Florence Shin,
Mm-hmm.
who is like a
Mm-hmm.
1920s chick or something who like was like from 100 years ago who wrote something called okay I can't remember what did she write.
The game of life and how to play it.
Okay, yeah, I just read that and then I listened to the audiobook. So were you aware of that before or did you just yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was, and but it was always kind of like for me, like this underlying thing. I never brought it like completely into my forefront and like I'm going to do this. It was always like make sure that you're controlling your thoughts and know what you're thinking and like kind of like keep your energy up. Like I knew all that stuff, but I never relied on just purely that. Because even when I worked, whenever I would work and I'd be like, hey, I need to make X amount of money this month, something crazy would happen. I'd get stranded somewhere and then I'd get double time and triple time and like things like that would happen. So like, but I thought I was putting all the effort in to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought I'm making this happen. Like I am the force that is like willing it to do it. But then I realized if you let go, if you trust that it's going to happen and you still do your work and still do your vibration, it comes on so much an easier level. It's just kind of like, ta-da, there it is. But I love Florence Shin. I think she was an amazing, what she calls herself a metaphysical physician. What is she calls herself
Yeah,
something.
some kind of she does treatments. She like helps people manifest things by her putting her focus behind it too. But
Yeah.
um like she had some really interesting like nice golden nuggets or basically if I paraphrase some of her stuff, it was like basically fear is faith in the negative. And
Mm,
I was like, "Oh, wow, like that's true. It is because that's usually you're believing that something bad is going to happen. So then
yeah.
therefore you will fear is manifestation on a bad level. And like fear is the porn that is sold everywhere right now. Like that's just like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like that's what the outside world is trying to panhandle the most. And then, you know, she explained that you have your for her, she called it subconsciousness, which is just energy. It's just pure, unadulterated energy, and it can go wherever it's directed, but it doesn't have a thinking mind so much of its own. It's just energy. And then there's consciousness, which is what you can control, which is like your thoughts and you here and now. And then there's the super conscious, which is like is more like the divine plan. So she said like if you
Mm-hmm.
can try to get like it would be great if you can kind of get all three in line and then you can just like be like a wizard. But definitely you know, I mean, and a lot of people say this, it's like where your thoughts go, your art, your energy flows. And you
Yeah.
can I decide to and it's so funny now cuz like I was at work the other day, and the girls I was working with were and everybody knows I'm a flight attendant. And anyway, so like the girls were like, "Oh, we're gonna get delayed here for for like 3 hours. You just watch." And I'm like, "Don't manifest that. Stop saying that. You're gonna make it true." And then of course it happened exactly like they said. So I gotta be like, I gotta figure out how to be like, erase that. No, no, we're not. We're leaving in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how it's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah, that's
still
okay.
have a hard time not falling back into old patterns. Like
Mm.
I always have to self correct. Oh wait, self correct, self correct. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And it's everybody. We all do it. Like it's just it's a big thing in ballet. Like you think like you're perfect and then you like go on the rise and you're like, oh, hold on, let me just adjust everything and there it is. But it feels awkward in the moment that you're doing it, right? Like when you're trying to correct yourself or do it the different way, it feels uncomfortable because this is how I've always done it. So now we have to be uncomfortable and do it a different way. A good way for you to like erase what those people are saying though is to have a stronger emotional attachment to what you want to believe instead. Because the reason that that happens so much is that people are like they can feel the dread, they can feel it happening, they're already in it, you know what I'm saying? Like it hasn't even happened and they're like, oh, we're gonna be stuck here, I'm gonna get some coffee and maybe a pizza, and like they're already building all this in their head, right?
Right.
But if you can be on a stronger vibration, a bigger vibration, and be like, no, I see myself going home and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna you can probably overrule them at that point. The problem is more people get sucked into that lower vibration. Like the other flight attendant was probably like, yeah, we are. Then the pilot was probably like, yeah, it's going to happen. And then the two passengers next to you, you're like, yes, it is going to happen. Then you're like, oh, I'm so outnumbered. Like,
Right,
I
right.
can't pull this back now.
Okay, so you do some writing about you do some like poetry writing, and that's kind of,
I do. Lately, it's been, thanks to Florence Shin, a lot of affirmations. I started with her affirmations. Depending on what book you get, she also has one called The Spoken Word, and it's literally nothing but affirmations and ways to like kind of draw things to you. And hers are very old timey, which I resonate with because they're very like precise, and she uses words like divine timing, divine plan, things like that. And
mhm.
that kind of encompasses a lot for me. Like it's not saying the universe needs to, God needs to. It's like kind of encompassing all of it, like saying the same thing a different way kind of thing. So for me, it really helps. And lately, I've been doing a lot of those kind of affirmation things. And my friends have been asking me, like, hey, I really want to bring this to my life. Can you come up with an affirmation or something I can say that'll like convince my conscious mind it's actually possible, or however you want to look at your affirmations. Um, so I've been doing a lot of those, and it's really powerful. It's kind of cool how the words come
Yeah. Do you
out of
record
nowhere.
stuff and then like listen to it almost like as a way to like self-hypnotize yourself, or do you just kind of like um get like a mantra for the day and just kind of say it to yourself as much as possible? Like how do you use them?
So for me, so I'm a huge writer, and for me, meditation has always been really boring because I don't have the internal thought that a lot of people have. I didn't know people had internal thought till about 5 years ago. I didn't know like there's always words or things going on inside your head. I literally have to make them happen for me. I have to, if I'm going to think about something, I have to like, and a lot of times I have to write, because then I can force myself to think on a different level, but like read it and go through things a little bit differently. I feel more than I think. So for me, meditation, every time I tried or whatever, it would be so boring because it's just sitting there and I'd usually fall asleep. Because like the point is to clear your mind, right?
Right.
Mind's clear. Like if I
Wow,
just
you're
stop,
lucky because I have like a huge analytical mind that's always like got like a
yeah.
billion things going, and it is a I can meditate 30 minutes to get 1 minute of just shh. It's very hard to calm my mind.
See, and that's okay. So it's like the opposite, right? So I didn't know this was a thing. Like again, I just know my own experience. So I didn't know people had that until I went into becoming a life coach and I got certified in it. And I had to start coaching people. And it took me a while to be like, where, like, why are these thoughts in your head? Like, why are you telling yourself this? Is what I said. And they're like, because it just pops in my head. I'm like, but didn't you put it there? Like, how did? And so it took me a long time to realize that this is not a normal thing. So for me, if you've ever heard of God, if I get this wrong, it's the 33 by 3 or the 55 by 5. And it's a way of manifesting with writing. So you write something 33 times for 3 days, or you write something 55 times for 5 days for the bigger manifestations, is how people word it. And you write it in like the whole, I have this, I am grateful for this. And you write it over and over and over and over again. And you do that continuously until like your days are up. So I started that just to try it out because I'm a huge writer. I love writing. I love my handwriting. I love just being physical with it. So now I just get an affirmation, and for as long as it takes in the morning for me to meditate, I'll put in my binaural beats, and then I'll just write for 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, and I'll write in my affirmation over and over again. And I feel like that gets me energetically aligned, but it also lets my mind wander. It actually gets my mind going a little bit because I'm physically doing something, and it'll let me my kind of like bob around and think about things on its own while I'm physically doing something, which is cool for me because I'm like, oh, look, there's something there. Like, cool, write it down. Okay, back to this and keep going. So for me, that's what I do whenever I manifest. I literally just, and I swear somebody's going to find one of my like manifestation journals and be like, this girl was crazy. She wrote the same thing over and over for
Like
365
red
days.
rum,
Yeah,
red rum. Yeah.
kind of. But they're all my, just whatever my affirmations are. And that's how I meditate in the mornings.
Okay, that's really, really cool. I need to try that. So for for minor ones, you do 3 days, 33 times each day. And
Yeah.
then for
Yeah.
major
And
life
then
ones or something, you do 5 days, 55 times each day.
55 times. Yeah. Yes. But for me personally, like I think that's a great way to do it. I think you can manifest a penny as much as you can manifest a car. Like
Yeah.
it does, but it helps people, I think, get in alignment faster to be able to do that because they're like, okay, I'm putting more effort into it. So I think whenever they feel like they're putting more effort into it, the possibility of it happening is more likely.
Right.
But I think if you can get in that vibration fast enough, you can get it within a day if you want to, but it is convincing yourself that it's going to happen. I think that's a big part of manifestation.
So I wonder what do you think is I almost kind of feel like negative manifestation is taught by society. Like, do you think that's by design, or why do you think that this is something that is it's still so obscure when you have people like Florence Scovel Shinn who've been around for 100 years? Like, it's not even
Yeah.
like she's like way before Abraham Hicks or before like whatever. Like, so I don't know. Like, why do you think that this is it's such a it's not an everyday it's not really like an everyday thing for a lot
Yeah.
of people.
So I think there's two parts to that. The one part is knowing that you're worthy of it, that your self-worth and your self-love are high enough to get it. And I think that is a big struggle that we have with the way we were brought up, the way that we are taught what love is. And then even just knowing like how much you're worthy of. If you grew up thinking that you're not worth something, then you're going to kind of keep showing that to yourself over and over again because you're attracting that, right? Like you're in that mindset of, I'm not worthy to have a nice car. I'm not worthy to have that because why would I be? Like I don't see why that is. So then I think that has a lot to do with the negative manifestation in it, is that we just don't have enough self love and self worth to start on that ground zero with, I can have this because I deserve it.
So do you have any
You know what I'm
tools
saying?
for people like that are like low on the self-love thing? Like, what do you do to I mean, for my own self, I remember I had to like reprogram. I like the concept of, if I wouldn't say it to my best friend, I shouldn't say it to myself. Like, if I
I
wouldn't
love that.
like if I wouldn't say to my best friend, like, you look fat in that shirt. Like, if I wouldn't use those words, I don't need to say those words to myself. We
Yes.
are always our hardest critic. And
Yes.
so I have really, and it took a long time, but I am very good at, like, I don't say bad things to Nikki. Like, Nikki inside Nikki's head doesn't say bad things to Nikki inside Nikki's head anymore. Because one,
Yeah.
like let's say you look fat in that shirt. Well, just the fact you saying it isn't going to change that. It's just going to
Right.
make you feel bad.
Yeah.
So like, instead I would maybe say things like, nah, not this shirt. Let's do another shirt. Or I mean, no, I'm not feeling this shirt today. Like I always reframe like it, and if a thought comes, I apologize to myself, and I'm like, ooh, that was not nice to Nikki. Nikki doesn't like that. I know that's crazy, but like in my own head,
No.
I have to talk to I've had to come like treat Nikki how I treat other people, which I'm pretty nice in real life. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. So exactly what you said is beautiful because I do the exact same thing when my friend starts talking bad about themselves. I'm like, hey, stop talking to me about my friend like that, because they don't catch that they're doing it a lot of the times. Like, hey, so exactly what you said is a great thing. A good thing to do, a technique that I know of is, like you said, just shift your way of thinking of it. Sometimes it's little by little because you can't go from thinking, for example, like I'm fat to I'm fit. You can't just like jump there. Like it doesn't happen because it's too much of a big gap, right?
Mhm.
So you can do little things like, I'm not where I want to be right now. Like you said, apologize to yourself, which I love. I think that's such a great like way to treat yourself, is to really apologize. Be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, didn't mean to do that. We're going to back it up. What I meant to say was, and it's just redirecting, because whenever we get into one thought and we keep spiraling, it's like a dog with a bone. You can't get it away. But if you can like distract it with a cute little puppy, treat over here and then take the bone away, you can redirect it a different way. So I think that's a really great idea. Just back it up, say, you know what, maybe I'm just not as healthy as I want to be right now. I can do something about that and then move it forward, you know?
Right.
But self-love, so I'm a little bit hard to do with that one because I just don't have the internal dialogue. So I don't know. I'm always like, whatever, this is who I am.
That's so
I
awesome
don't
that you
have,
have the internal dialogue.
yeah.
That like really helps a lot. Okay, you said there was two things to the society thing though, and I interrupted you before you finished the second one. What was the
No,
second?
that is it. So it's the self-worth and then knowing that it's going to happen. Like there's the two things. So like we get so caught up into like how we were raised, how we were treated, how we look at ourselves in that, because a lot of it is childhood stuff, right? A lot of it is thing. And I'm kind of unique because I don't have a lot of those memories. I'm getting them back, but I don't have them from like actually physically experiencing it and being like, oh, this is it. So I came into the world, if you will, at 16, just as I was, and like didn't have like whatever happened in my childhood. So I can only imagine what it's like for most people that I know, my friends, family, people I talk to. There's different ways of being raised. There's different ways of like being shown love that sometimes isn't how we need to be viewing ourselves. You know, like
Mhm.
if you were taught, like for example, that if you get A's, straight A's, and you become a doctor and you are successful in life, you deserve my love. Well, that's not showing you self love. That's showing you
Conditional
how
love.
you're gonna physically do things to be loved. Conditional love, yeah. So like that person might have a harder time figuring out what self-love is because they're like, well, I don't even know what it's like to be loved for just existing, you know. But we all have that whenever we're babies. Everybody, you know, whenever you're a baby, you're not doing anything and you're being loved enough to be taken care of, you know, like there's something there.
There's that axiom that says something about how like we spend our entire adulthood trying to get over our childhood. There's that concept of reparenting yourself, like so, you know, like let's say you had it's actually funny. I was telling my 9-year-old niece the other day because she's having a problem with a kid at school who's it's kind of like bothering her or whatever, and like saying some mean things to her. And so I mean, like, I can tell her they're untrue and this and that, but I'm like, but you're gonna have to tell yourself they're untrue as well. You have to realize within yourself that what she is saying is not true. Like, I can sit here and tell you that it's not all day till I'm blue in the face, but you have to realize yourself that, like, she's also a human who's capable of pain, who's feeling hurt, and I don't know what her deal is. We don't need to know what her deal is. Let's just wish her love and hope that she keeps that somewhere else. Just wish her some love, and then you go back and tell your own self that that wasn't true and that you do love yourself and what she said isn't true to you. You know, it's almost like you have to kind of learn how to um like if there is a traumatic event that happened to you at any time, and it wasn't handled in a way that you probably needed at the time, you can go back to that memory within your own self and give yourself the love that you would have needed at that time. You can reparent yourself from any time in any time thing. And that's like, I feel like that's an element of how we actually heal and start like becoming um okay again and stronger to go forward with other things, because a lot of times when you just talk about it at an event or you ignore an event, or it either it gets it gets it festers. It's like a festering wound, whereas I
Mm-hmm.
feel like by acknowledging and you can't change what happened, but you can change what you think would have helped you at the time. You can change like how you could have reparented your own self like after the words, and that can kind of give a little band-aid. that's
Yeah,
that's just my thing.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, like be the parent that you needed at the time, or the adult. Doesn't even have to be a parent, just the adult that you needed at the time for your
Right.
younger self. I think that's great. Yeah, I think it's
And
awesome.
even if it's not an adult, even if it's not in childhood, even if it's in adulthood, it's still it's like
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times it's one of those things where your hindsight's 2020, right? Like you have like, oh, I had this most amazing comeback 3 days later. But like
Yeah.
at the time, you're just like, you know, I completely am I'm not a very good arguer when I'm like put on the spot, you know, because I just like I blank out and I'm just like, I don't know any facts anymore. They're gone. And
Yeah.
so I just, you know, so I think it's one of those things where, yeah, I should have said this, like that never happens. So in that same kind of concept, if there's an event that happened to you that you didn't like, even if it's just something as simple as I didn't get that job or I didn't do this or like I didn't achieve a thing I wanted to achieve, you can you can still do it like that, even if it was a week ago, kind of thing.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay, so tell me about the ballet thing because I think that's super cool. So you didn't start ballet until you were how old?
I was, gosh, how old am I now? 32 when I started. Yeah. So, and I'm 36 now. So 4 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you knew nothing. You didn't know.
Nothing. I knew I always wanted to do it. I knew it was always kind of a goal of mine. Um, but I never did it. And um, honestly, there was probably a good thing I didn't do it at a younger age, especially even after my car accident, because there was so much getting to know my body again that I would, especially when I would work out or when I would do different ways of, getting fit, I would kind of tune my body out and I would just like go into it and be like, whatever, let's just like get this run over with, get this workout over with. And I think if I would have done ballet back then, I probably would have seriously injured myself because I would have been too much into like, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. And the teacher I found out here is, she's phenomenal. I mean, she works with how the body, she's a kinesiologist as well. So like, she's all about like how the body functions and like what's working. She's studied the body her whole life. She's been a ballerina her whole life. And having her teach me has been like learning my body all over again in like the best way possible, because she's not only able to teach me how to do a proper plie or a proper releve or whatever, she's also telling me this is why it's hard for you, because this is probably pulling over here. This is what you need to work on. This is where you need to strengthen. This is where you need to focus, and then there's also the parts of it where whenever you're running or getting through a workout real quick, you're kind of like powering through, but you're not really conscious of what your body's doing. You're just like letting it do its thing. With ballet, you're so in your body, you're so aware of where your head is at, where your neck is at, where your arms are at. Because if you're not, you fall over. So it's this huge thing for me that it's like you have to stack it all on top of each other, and like I can be completely in my body with it. And it's been awesome for me. It's been really cool.
And so you don't even do it to perform, you just do it
Mm-mm.
just for your own like love of
Yeah.
actually doing it. Yeah. And you do it
Yeah.
like a lot, right?
I do it a lot. Yeah. I go to class 3 times a week, and then I'll do it by myself, usually three times a day, or I'm sorry, 3 times a week as well. So like 6 times a
And
week
you're like going
altogether.
to actually be on points at some point here.
I hope so. Yeah. We're doing strengthening of the ankles and the feet right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's really exciting because that's the point I want to get to. Because it is a dance at that point. Whenever you're on the shoes and in the thing, it is more of like you're able to travel across the floor. You're able to do things like that, which I really want to do expression as well. So
Hmm.
that's what I want to work towards. I want to get my body to the point where I trust it enough that I can let it express itself, which is going to be a lot of fun for me.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Shealynn. Okay, so tell us about like where people can find you and then like what kind of stuff you're doing. And like you mentioned that you guys or that you potentially do retreats like in New Mexico.
Yeah. Um,
That.
so that's in the works right now. I don't have all the information, but I will give it to you, and whenever hopefully we can do an update to the podcast and tell you more later about it. But there's a healer that I work with out here, and she's helped me a lot through my car accident and through my spiritual healing, and has given so much word and knowledge to what I'm going through that when as I can feel it, she's giving me the actual like this is what's happening. And she's been such a phenomenal help, and we've become such good friends that I would love to share that with everybody who's going through anything spiritual. That's like, I know something's happening, I just don't know how to express it, because she's amazing at that.
That's really cool because like I eventually am going to be offering I want to take like I'm my thing's called Nikkianajones and I'm like a big ruins chick and like I'm all into ancient history and stuff like that's one of my primary things. And I'm also from New Mexico and I want to take people to Chaco Canyon and like really like do some like like abacu or bandolier like do some of the other like the ruins for them. So maybe we can combine forces and do a little uh, healing retreat with Indian ruins like for
I
awesomeness
love it.
sauce.
I
Yeah.
love it.
All right, you guys. Well, Shealynn, this has been so awesome. I will we'll have to have you on again soon. Like I know you're planning on maybe writing a book soon, and so we'll have to have you back on with that. And yeah, if if anybody wants to contact you, they can go through me, and then I'll screen for you and see what's going on.
Thank you. I would love that. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.